Castles throughout history have been a sign of power. Their primary purpose was to protect either the king or the wealthy earl or owner who lived inside of it. Castles, however, have always been a symbol of strength, and because of this they became the perfect place to imprison someone if they had done wrong. Over the centuries, even kings and queens found themselves in prison there, held prisoner for a number of reasons. Some of these sentences were rather lavish. For example, in the Tower of London, the future Queen Elizabeth I was held captive, however experienced many luxuries. But this was not the reality for most. Many prisoners in medieval times were tortured, and there was a physical aspect to this, but also a great psychological aspect to it. Today we look at one of the worst tortures ever, the Angstloch, the German Oubliette, and remember to support our channel, please make sure to subscribe. One of the worst tortures ever was the Oubliette. This was a small and terrifying underground dungeon that was found inside castles in the medieval period. Many different prisoners found themselves down the Oubliette, from soldiers of the enemy to political prisoners and thieves. The idea was to inflict a huge amount of psychological damage onto a prisoner, and it would also result in their death. The word oubliette comes from the word to forget, meaning a prisoner would be thrown into the dungeon and simply left to rot. Often they had no other means of escaping, and also they often had other dead bodies of former prisoners to contend with. Oubliettes were greatly feared, and reputations spread about them even across to different countries. It was a small and secluded dungeon within another dungeon, and being thrown into one would lead a prisoner to go crazy and psychologically deteriorate. The claustrophobic conditions would be horrendous, and they were sometimes bottle-shaped to ensure no one could escape. Once they were down there, that was it. The oubliette would be incredibly small, and could force a prisoner to have to stand for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, making the torture even worse. There may have also been spiked floors impaling a prisoner once they were placed inside, and guards often threw human waste and sewage down the hole in the ground. But the Germans did have their own form of the oubliette. Oubliettes were found in France and also in Britain and other countries. However, Germany had their own ideas on the oubliette, known as the Angstloch. The Angstloch, which is referred to as a fear hole, was a small hole found in a basement or the floor of a medieval castle or fortress. The hole then led to a small dungeon similar to an oubliette, and it's considered to have worked like a trapdoor. There was just a hole or a shutter which could be pulled up, and a prisoner thrown down inside. This would have been horrendous, as once you were down the Angstloch, there was very little chance you would get out. That's if you would even survive the fall, as it was a long way down from the hatch to the bottom of the basement. It's likely that this would have been so deep and it would have been damp, meaning the prisoner could get ill and sick quite easily. They were usually found above a basement of a tower, which was used for fighting or defence, known as a Bergfried. This was a tall tower that was found in German castles, and was not used to be lived in, just for defence unlike a keep. These were considered to have been used like a dungeon, and would have been similar to an oubliette, but also the Angstloch was used for other means as well. It has been documented that they were used for a storage room or a basement space to keep weapons for the Bergfried, with cannonballs and other weapons being lowered into the Angstloch. Projectiles and stones could be kept there to be launched at an enemy too, and pulled up using a pulley. There are a number of Angstlochs around in Germany today, and they're a popular tourist attraction. Many are covered over with armour-plated glass, as if you fell down there you'd be in serious trouble. One fear hole can be found at Oubliette Castle, and more can be found at Waldenberg Castle and Spantakau Fortress. The one at Spantakau has just a wire mesh covering the hole in the ground. So the Angstloch was a German variation on the brutal torture method that was the oubliette. Although not just exclusively used for torture or inflicting suffering, they were known as fear holes for a reason. Being thrown down the Angstloch would be a horrific ordeal. Once again, thanks for watching. To support our channel, please make sure to subscribe, and once again, thank you so much for watching.